So how did you cultivate a celebrity roster in the beginning?
Yeah, it's so interesting because again, it really sort of happened accidentally. My former career was in magazines, so I was the bookings editor of Nylon and Harper's Bazaar, and so I think I bookings editor really books all of the photo shoots, does like the photo production, casts models and things like that. So I was really working on the cover shoots and any sort of celebrity shoot that was happening at those magazines. So I think I just sort of like met publicists and, just sort of, and I think at the time too, working for a magazine was just like, magazines held all of the power. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is also like before social media. And if you wanted to promote, your brand or your product, you like had to get into a magazine. It was like, it's like why Anna Wintour, owned the fashion industry, right? Because it was like her approval or you just didn't survive. And so, now everyone's a publisher, on social media. And so everyone has their own platform. So it's just the landscape changed so much. So I think in my career, working for magazines, I sort of met publicists and people that worked with celebrities. I worked in proximity to celebrities. And then I just really started noticing, okay, our budgets at the magazine are really dwindling. Our cover shoots that used to be like, $100,000 are now $50,000, or which is an extraordinary amount of money for a photo shoot. But I just saw the budgets dwindling and social media became more prevalent. And Instagram obviously launched in, I think, 2011, 2012, and it became this like new experimental platform. And then agencies like DBA opened where their mission was like, we can take a normal girl and make her famous. And like Ame Song and Chriselle Lim were sort of like those first sort of bloggers, right? And I started noticing how those platforms were being used and leveraged. And so when I was still working in magazines, I was like, okay, we're going to do this for the cover shoot. Then we're going to do an interview like for social, or like this is the ancillary content we're going to do for like all of these digital platforms on YouTube or Instagram or whatever it was. And so I started to transition and I sort of like ushered that digital era and age into what I was doing for magazines. And at the same time, I was just becoming an advocate of social media. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, content's being diversified and we're doing more. And I just loved that sort of democratization where it's like the magazines no longer held all the power. I remember when I was at Harper's Bazaar, Giselle was on the cover. And we did this whole cover story and this whole beautiful shoot with Peter Lindbergh and whatever. And then she married Tom Brady. And we had to literally pull the magazine like off of the printing press in China. And basically, because she was talking about like her dating life and whatever. And then she married Tom Brady. And then like by the time the magazine came out, it just was old news because it had already hit the blogs and everything. So it's just like magazines couldn't keep up. And I started to notice that pattern. I was like, okay, this is changing. This is like, and I think the music industry had just gone through a change with like the launch of the iPod and things like that. And this is, this sounds like super archaic, but at the time it was like, it was really, big. Yeah. And so my now fiance was on a Disney show and he had to do things with like other actors. And we started to just like, as we moved to LA, we sort of knew nobody. We were very lonely. And, we were both working respectively, but we started to kind of cultivate this friend group of actors and things like that. And one of our best friends was Tyler Blackburn, who was on Pretty Little Liars. And I just loved him. He's like my brother, we were really close friends. And I kept telling him, I'm like, you need to get on social media. Like, this is the next big thing. You're going to be able to make so much money. Like, and he was like, yeah, everyone was kind of feeling it out because again, it was so experimental, but I was really following like what these fashion bloggers were doing, like these girls that were so early in the game. And so I started telling him, like, you really need to do this. And he didn't really listen at first, but then it was like 5 months later, he was like, can we go to dinner? I need to pick your brain about this social media thing.
Oh my God.
You were so right. All the girls on my show are getting like offers for like, these posts that are $50,000 and whatever. And he's like, you need to tell me how to do this.
Wow.
And I was like, sure, let's go to dinner and we'll talk about it. So I just, we went to dinner and I was sort of spitballing ideas. And he was like, why don't you work with me? Like, why don't you help me with this? And I'll like give you a cut of it or, whatever. And so he became my first client.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was just transitioning out of because again, I always had a full-time job. Like I worked in corporate, I had a 9 to 5 technically, and I had a job that I loved. I really loved working for those magazines. But then I realized, okay, there's a need here. And at the time, no one was really servicing it. Like now there are tons of social media agencies, but at the time, like there really wasn't, you know, because this was so early in the game.
But so it seems like in the beginning you were more like managing someone's social media presence or account.
Yeah.
How did that then transition to all the brand building and the world building that you do now for celebrities like Frenchie with Ashley Tisdale?
Yeah. It just, you know, I think as social media became more popular, more prevalent, like, you know, it really was that democratized audience where, you know, like, I really think the first person that I can remember, I'm sure other people have done it, but like, it was like, you know, Kylie launching her beauty brands,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It was like, she launched her lip kit in 17 minutes or 17
like,
seconds. It was
Snapchat,
like,
yeah.
she sold out completely of all of the inventory. And then it was like, you know, there was this demand, people wanted it, you couldn't get it. It was like this whole thing. And, you know, I think that that's where, because prior to that, celebrities always endorsed brands, right? But they were always getting a paycheck. They were basically getting a paycheck to like show up, endorse a brand, promote a brand, do a commercial, do an infomercial, whatever that looks like, right? And then I think Kylie sort of ushered in this new genre of like, I'm not going to endorse a brand, I'm going to own the brand. You know, I'm not going to like sell the bread, I'm going to own the bakery.
Yeah.
And I think that that trend sort of caught on with certain celebrities, and it almost like caught on too much because I think like everyone and their mother is now launching a brand, right?
Yeah.
But I think that was always the part that I was most interested in because like I'm most interested in helping someone like tell their story on social media, like, you know, help them strategically plan the whole thing. And, you know, and I think when it came to brand launching, it was like that to me is the deepest level of storytelling that you can really, you know, create, because you want a brand that's authentic to you. You want to, you know, not just like slap your name on something and be like, okay, this is, you know, this is what I'm selling, right?
Yeah.
I think it was like Kylie did it, and then Jessica Alba obviously did it with Honest, and that was like a really big deal because we saw Jessica Alba go from having this identity as this woman in entertainment, this actress, to this like billion-dollar entrepreneur. And that was like a massive identity shift.
Yeah.
And I think other people didn't even feel like that was possible for them until they saw her do it. And then they were like, oh, wait, this is something.
Yeah. So why do you think some celebrity brands work and some don't? Because we just were saying that now it feels like everyone and their mother is launching
So
something. I mean,
saturated.
I'd love to hear your thoughts even about Kylie and now Sprinter. And it's like, okay, it feels like there's too much going on now. So why do some work and some don't?
And in addition, can we get your opinion on why a celebrity should launch a brand or why they shouldn't? Like, not only why they work and they don't, but like, if a celebrity wants to launch a brand, what are the qualifiers that you would say do it or don't do it?
Yeah, it's so funny because I think the brands that really work from celebrities are ones that solve actual problems and also ones that feel really authentic to them. You know, like for example, like Jessica Alba launched Honest because she was like, I found, you know, a hole in the market for non-toxic baby products, right? And then, you know, she pitched that idea, she got a million no's, and then she eventually brought that brand to fruition with Brian Lee. Kylie, same thing. Like she got some work done, and it was like it was very buzzworthy. And then she built the lip kit, which was like a 2 product, but it was a hero product. You know, I think brands that also focus on hero products, it's like Summer Fridays with the jet lag mask, like
Hero products.
Yeah, hero products like really stand out in the market, but also there needs to be a point of differentiation. So, you know, like. And also, there has to be some sort of authentic story, you know? So, like, if you're just a celebrity that's, like, slapping your name on a brand and just bringing it to life, it tends to not work. But I do think that there are some celebrities that are sort of like unicorns where they can kind of sell, not anything, but it just works. It's like Selena Gomez, Rihanna.
I was gonna say Selena Gomez, because Rare Beauty, it does so well, but like I wouldn't at first glance be like, Selena Gomez, you are obsessed with makeup.
Beauty.
Like you're like a makeup person, you know? So it's interesting that one does so well. And also Rihanna with Fenty. It's just like,
Also, like, you know how we say we don't need another skincare brand, but Scarlett Johansson started the Outset. And my first impression was another celebrity launching another brand.
Right.
But I heard her on a podcast telling her story. And she says that she has acne-prone skin like I do. And all the makeup that she was using on set would break her out. And then she would try these products that had a lot of acids in them, and that would break her out. And she didn't know how to find products that wouldn't break her out for her acne prone skin. So she literally built the Outset, and she's like, I use every single one because I know that it's not going to break my skin out because I have acne prone skin.
Right.
And I was like, is this real, or is this like a celebrity marketing trap? Because I think at this point when celebrities come out with a new brand, we're looking for that authenticity.
Right.
And I just kind of decided, I was like, no, she's being real. Like she literally built this because of that. And now I literally almost like I use the Outset cleanser and the Outset moisturizer every single day, and it transformed my skin.
Right.
You can feel it in the bones of the brand. If the celebrity is actually involved, like Chamberlain Coffee, you can feel
100%.
her in that.
Yes, of course. And they're selective about what they do.
For sure.
And it was like that with Ashley Tisdale too, because Ashley kind of came to me, it was like 2019. It was actually like before the pandemic. And she's like, I have this idea for this like little sister brand to a Goop. You know, she's like, and basically her story was so interesting because she did a cosmetics line before.
Yeah, that failed. I love her story.
Yeah, and so she did Illuminate Cosmetics, and she kind of came to me like with this just idea. And, you know, and like there was so much vulnerability in her story because she's like, I'm not even sure that I can actually like do another brand successfully. You know, Illuminate like really failed. She got into like a really terrible partnership. It wasn't so authentic to her story. And I think like through that failure, it sort of catapulted her into this sort of journey with, you know, with wellness and meditation. And she really suffered from anxiety, and she got really into manifestation and things like that. And it brought her so much closer to herself. And, you know, when she met with me, she's like, I don't even know that I can do another brand. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this will be successful. Do people want this? Do people want this from me? And, you know, we just started working on, we were like, let's launch a community. Like, let's launch a community with all of the things that you've learned. Like, obviously she has access to some, you know, amazing like meditation teachers and, you know, people like that. And so we sort of started it as a community to incubate ideas. And then, you know, a product line sort of spawned from that community, which is amazing because there's market research. We could understand, you know, what are people really looking for? And you know, and her publicists and team at the time too, they were like, let's target this for moms, and let's target this for like women who are like 35, who are Ashley's age. And we were like, no, this is like a Gen Z wellness brand. This is about rituals. This is about like if you can't afford a spa day and you want to like turn your bathroom into a spa, and with, you know, sense and mood science and things like that. That's what, you know, we really sort of went a different direction, which was, you know, which is great that we did that because it went viral on TikTok. She sold out of, you know, over a year's worth of inventory in less than 5 months at Target, which is also really hard to do.
Really hard.
But it was so authentic to her. And like she was involved in every single step of the way, you know, and so
I feel like her story, I've heard her on podcasts a million times. Her story is such an indication of why celebrity brands don't work and why they do. Because she did kind of like just throw her face on this thing. She was like, oh, I'm going to get into business. Like, sorry, I'm paraphrasing her words, but I'm going to get into business. And she says, you know, it was not what she thought it was. And it was a lot harder, and it was a bad partnership. And then she created something that had her soul in it, and it worked. So I want to kind of go back a little bit because there are so many people that are social media agencies, you know, they'll run a brand social, et cetera. And at this point, it's exhausting, and you don't necessarily know who's great and who's not great. And it's kind of like bare bones minimum for a lot of these agencies. Yeah. And I've obviously personally worked with you. I brought you in to do an amazing VIP consulting day with my team at Scouts Agency, and like transformed the way we thought about how we show up to social as a business. And then your team also built out the brand behind Review, my new editorial site. And I have seen your brain work firsthand. And there's a level of you live and breathe brand building, social storytelling in a way that I really haven't seen in many other people who talk about social media. Like some people are like, the strategy, like post this many times a day and hashtag this and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. You almost know how to take the soul of something, and you're looking for something with the soul, and infuse it into the storytelling via social. And I think it's such a different way of looking at it. I don't even know the question here other than like,
How does that happen?
How did you get to this very specific way of looking at social and helping brands?
Yeah, it's so interesting because, you know, to me, like saying to post 3 times a day on TikTok is not a strategy. Those are tactics.
Yeah.
Like that comes after the strategy. So many people, you know, like all the social media experts and things on TikTok are always talking about like the tactical, but positioning it as a strategy. It's not, you know? And basically for me, it's like I'm so obsessed with marketing because I'm a self-educated, you know, marketing expert, because I realized, and this was just from like being in the rooms with like VPs of marketing for the brands that I was launching and for the, you know, celebrities I was launching it with or the talent I was launching it with, I realized like how little people actually know about marketing and really how little people understand about marketing psychology. So, you know, running someone's social media and creating content is not exactly like fully understanding marketing psychology. Like we need to understand the levers that we can pull in order to like actually like make people to take action or to like agitate them to make a sale. Or it's like, why are we obsessed with certain brands and what other brands fail and like those kind of things. And I think that's where like, you know, people need to read between the lines and really understand like what makes people tick. And then once you sort of understand that too, and that's like sort of what I've always been obsessed with, like studying and learning. And there are just, you know, things that, you know, you understand about like psychology and the way people buy and take action that a lot of brands just don't